Struggling with her.
Done as well.
That's the fucking best thing on this channel in like years. Is Raptor saying.
Hold on 1 second. I'm just grabbing the link to put in other places. In the meantime, hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Tarik's Tavern.
Hey.
Hello.
I would sound more enthusiastic, but my voice isn't working very well today. So I'm sad and sick.
Do you have the flu?
A little bit. I'm mostly out of it, I think. But
hope you get better.
Thank you.
So it's safe to say Dunn will not be joining us, right?
Don't
Let's make an
know.
argument, yes.
Does anyone know?
I don't know.
He's not online, so I don't know.
Dickhead, making promises he can't keep.
He's an American.
Well,
Can we expect?
been on him about that.
He's
so.
American. What do you expect? Is that?
Hey, it's like I told that bitch at the Doctor Who experience, the Torchwood guy. You can always trust an American.
Look, here's the thing, Codex. You are literally on the stream of an American, and you can get kicked out at any time. So watch what
here's
you
the
say.
thing. He at least he's on time. Don isn't.
But would you trust
trust
someone
him.
like? Would you
can't
trust someone like?
Good.
Raptor, shut the hell up.
What I was gonna say was, look, you can trust an American, but you can't trust a Mormon.
Oh no. Oh dear.
That is true, actually.
But most Mormons are American.
Oh, no.
Right?
That is true.
Ah, damn it.
All right, so go ahead.
Hmm?
Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
Oh, I had some bad Mormon joke about how Brandon Sanderson's sabotaging all of them. See, really sick, confused, and don't understand what I was about to joke about. Sabotaging all of stories at the moment, so he's the only good writer out there.
I think that's a
what he's doing.
problem with everyone else.
But he's a Mormon, so he must be behind it all.
He cast some kind of voodoo curse or something, or some kind of like Christian spell. I believe they call them witches.
All
He's the
those wholesome
Illuminati.
images of him looking like a normal, down-to-earth bloke who just loves fantasy. All of those smiles and happiness about everything he writes. It's all witchcraft.
He looks like the kind of guy who would who tucks his kids in the bed and tells them a story before they go to sleep.
Exactly. All of that wholesomeness, it cannot actually be wholesomeness. It has to be secretly witchcraft to bring everyone else down.
He's
All
a
right.
Mormon Bane, essentially.
That's how Mormon witchcraft works. Which probably means Dunn's not very good at it.
Oh Lord. All right,
Either
enough
way.
dumb bashing. We're here for a reason, and we should probably get to that reason. All right. So, I picked up the God of War Ragnarok game back in November before I went to England for about a month. Didn't get to play it, was really excited to play it, and then I got home and actually played it. How familiar are you guys with the series, just to ask?
I think I'm very familiar. I've seen summaries of all the God of War stories.
I have not played the games, but I'm aware of their existence, and I think I'm on a very similar level with Raptor, really. I know of the story.
Technically, I have played roughly 5 to 6 hours of God of War 2018. So there's that.
I am completely unaware of the games. Apart from Tarik telling me all about them, reading people having autistic screeching matches at each other about them, and watching the Critical Drinkers video about it. So, apart from that, literally know nothing. I'm just here for moral support. And,
All right.
to be the annoying devil's advocate person.
All right. So, I love it. God of War was one of the biggest games. I didn't play God of War. Actually, I didn't own a PlayStation 2, is more accurate, until about the year 2014, 2015. And the reason I say that is because my experience of God of War was playing it at my cousin's house when I was about 14 years old. It was actually kind of funny because I take that back. I apologize. I was probably about 12. And the reason why I'm talking about that is because something tragic sadly happened to the cousin who I was playing the game at. That's why it's kind of clear how old I was. Anyways, that's besides the point. But the funny part about this story was that I was playing the first game from about 9 o'clock at night till about 2 o'clock in the morning when my cousin finally came and says, Tarik, I want to go to bed, please. And I said to him, oh, well, why didn't you say so? I'm sorry. So I finally let him go to bed. And I think I was at the Pandora's Temple area. I think it's on the back of Kronos or something. Anyways, never got to finish the game. Point is, never got to finish the game. I did, however, finish God of War 2. Because my friend let me borrow his PlayStation 2 to do it. So I didn't really grow up with this series, so I don't have a lot of nostalgia for it. That's the point I'm trying to make here. I did not finish most of these games until I was already a man. So that's where I'm leading into when I can have. So with that being said, with all of that, with all that being said and everything on the table, I find God of War Ragnarok very mid. I find it a very mid game.
Oh, he showed the fuck up. Look at that.
Sorry,
took you long enough.
Lunch.
We serve
need
lunch
lunch.
at the tavern, sir. No outside food or drink.
Sorry. I don't like your food.
Oh,
I'm picky. What can I say?
You dare?
Fucking Americans.
Without any difficulty.
You dare? The bard's made right here. Her food is made.
Oh wow. Okay, guess my to be fair, it probably is my cooking. To be fair, in the lore of it.
No,
yeah.
it's not. No, it's not. It's not. Not in the lore.
Nope. Whose cooking is it?
Hey, sorry, I'm late. The heart. You lying
yeah.
sack of shit. It's right.
Oh no, you put it in Dun's server, but not yours.
No, I put it in the one called the shows.
That's true.
Yeah.
Unless hold on. View channel. Yeah. It's in the channel called the shows. It's in there.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Okay.
all right. Yeah, aspiring's just dumb. All right, cool.
Anyways, back to my point. I found the game very mid, and I'll talk about that later because I know I'm the only son of a bitch here who was actually dumb enough to play the fucking game.
Okay. Keep going. I'm interested.
Okay. But let me ask this question first. You all are familiar with what the story is, correct?
Roughly.
Yes.
Okay.
Ish.
Okay. So, before I give my thoughts on that, what did you all think?
So I actually am going to be the devil's advocate where I legit have no idea about most of this game.
No, that's my role. You get to have a different role done.
Okay, we'll share roles then.
Oh, I don't want to
I'm
share
just
with
like-
Dun. That's rubbish. Can I sit somewhere else, please?
We have two of the same characters in the cast.
This is
Yeah, I know.
rubbish.
Who wrote this shit?
You probably.
Oh,
Oh wait, I gotta remove that message. Okay. Good.
I was just going to say I've seen a lot of the controversy and I've watched Smud Boy's coverage of it and chatted with people about it, sampling a bunch of different perspectives on this whole controversy. And my whole opinion is that I don't really care if people say, oh, Norse mythology is being raped like Star Wars was, because it's just Norse mythology is a cultural entity at this point.
Well, it is a cultural entity, and I actually find that interesting because, unlike Star Wars, where it's quite clear who Luke Skywalker is after 3 fucking movies, Norse mythology has had so many interpretations, both in popular culture and within the Norse culture.
Yeah.
So who's to say Odin is not really a used car salesman?
Mhm.
Hey, Tarik. I
Mhm.
fixed your server. I made it so people could actually see the show's channel.
Oh, thank
because
you.
It turns out that only me and you could see it.
That's weird. That's really weird.
I was like, wait.
All right.
Okay.
Well, anyways, like I was
Wow.
saying, thank you again for that. Anyways, who's to say how Thor, Odin, and all these people are really supposed to act? It's not like they're real. Like, obviously, Luke Skywalker's not a real person, but that only has one source.
Yeah, like when people say that, like, oh, Odin would never do this or Thor would never do that, like, okay, which Odin and Thor are you comparing this Odin and Thor to? There are so many different variants
Indeed,
of
yeah.
Thor and Odin that, like, you can't just cherry pick and maintain some kind of consistent quality, because at the end of the day, Norse mythology is folklore, and with folklore, every generation has a new spin on established characters, which means that the rules are bent, characters are different, and the stories are either amplified or they're, I guess, mitigated because of this. So it's really difficult to pinpoint, like, okay, like when you're talking about like mythical inaccuracies and accuracies, it's really difficult to pinpoint like exactly you're referring to, because there's so many different things that contradict established laws within the myth itself that it's just really redundant.
One of the funniest things I don't think anyone takes into account is Loki and Thor are technically in Son of the Mask. Or they straight up are in Son of the Mask. How do we know they weren't going for that interpretation?
Between Odin and Loki. I don't remember Thor being in Son of the Mask.
No, he wasn't. That's why I didn't mention him. But I do remember Loki and Odin being in it.
Yeah,
for some fucking reason.
Even in Power Rangers as well.
Were they?
Yeah, they were in Power Rangers Operation Overdrive for in one episode.
Sure anyone else?
It really scares me when I find out that people know things about Power Rangers.
Like, weird.
It deeply scares me. I'm like, did anyone watch Power Rangers beyond, oh look, they green, they blue, they pink, and then forget everything? Like,
hell yeah, I fucking watch Power Rangers. God damn.
Look, my brothers watched Power Rangers, and I had to sit through it, and I don't remember a single thing other than it were different colours, and that I just always went, I like that one because colour, usually the pink one.
All right, then you are not qualified to be doing media criticism if you can't even understand the master class that is Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue.
All right, well,
Yeah.
I'll submit to re-education, I guess. Anyway.
If you want to talk about Masterclass, then look no further than Godzilla Final Wars. No, that's a real.
I've seen that one.
Oh God, no.
It's a perfect.
Raptor,
film.
you're not funny. Whatever thing you're pulling over people's eyes that I don't understand.
All right,
It's
going
not
back
funny.
going back on topic though. Go back on topic. All right, so let's just start off with some of the characters real quick. What did you think about Kratos and Atreus' portrayal? Because you kind of can't have one without the other anymore.
I thought that they were the best in this one than they were in previous installments. In the previous installment, I thought Kratos was the best here than he was in previous installments.
All right, Codex.
It's it's an interesting take as well on Kratos' character, I would say, because he already had a family in the prior games, exactly. Obviously, it's given the Grecian tragedy ideology, exactly. He either lost his family, or he brutally massacred his family exactly, and this is his second chance essentially, and he really doesn't want to fuck this up essentially.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Like, he has nothing left at this point. Like, he tried to kill himself because
Twice.
especially after God of War 3, when he essentially killed the entire pantheon of gods to try to essentially crunch his vengeance, because also the only source of willpower that he had to keep on going in life, to kind of distract himself from the internal pain. But since he couldn't kill it externally, he had to face with it internally, and essentially just restart new, restart with a new clean slate with Faye. And I think the words that Pandora said to him, yeah, and I think the words that Pandora said to him in God of War 3 really resonated with him after his failed assassination attempt, where she said that, like, "Oh, hope is what makes us strong. It is what we fight with when all else is gone." Like, if you don't really have anything else to fight for, then might as well start new. Pretty much start our new life. And that's what he did.
Well, what I kind of remember about God of War 3 specifically was with the ending, is that Athena wants him to do something, to give her the sword so she can kind of claim her place as king of the gods, or queen, whatever. Point is, she wants to rule Olympus. She wants to rule whatever's left of Greece. Not that there's much left. But what I find interesting is that it's actually Kratos who breaks the cycle. He's the one who denies her, unironically, ascension, which, pisses her off and everything. And Athena was the one getting him through all these games, through one, from what I can recall, from 1, 2, and 3. And then he just tells her, fuck off.
Yeah, well, there's also a theory that says that, like, Athena was manipulating Kratos from day one.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So
especially
Kratos finally realizing, like, when he's being deceived, is realizing, I'm not taking orders from anyone now. Screw you guys. Like, he's been deceived far too many times by literally everyone.
I agree with that, and I think that's why he's so unwilling to trust anyone in the Norse series, because of everything he's been through in the during the Greek series, and it's a really nice bit of character development, in my opinion.
Almost definitely, yeah.
But that's I'll be the first to admit, good.
I was agreeing he's a very good user character development for Kratos.
Okay. But I can understand why people miss the old Kratos, the one from Greece, the one that was yelling, the one that was cursing the gods, the one who was basically throwing a temper tantrum that ended Western civilization.
It's a very fascinating Greek tragedy. A very fun one of that.
It's fun when you're the one controlling the slaughter.
Yeah.
Basically,
But I do miss the one that was very, like, it was like watching Greek theater, the way he was yelling into the sky, cursing the gods and all that.
Yeah, it's very over the top.
The game is just Devil May Cry with an angrier overtone. That's all it is.
Actually, this is a question.
It's like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
The tone is completely diametrically opposed
do you
to
think
the North.
Good.
Yeah. Do you think this series of games, specifically 2018 and Ragnarok, but actually the entire series probably, would you say this is a very similar parallel with the Middle Earth games, essentially?
With
Shadow of Mordor and
Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War?
Yeah, like Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War, like that parallel between an OG character with all these powerful abilities, essentially, and just have fun with it, essentially.
There are interesting parallels with Brave Walker's storyline and Kratos' storyline, the more you think about it. Like his family dies at the beginning of the game. He's essentially deceived by someone who's more intelligent than he is. He has nothing to live for but vengeance. But I think Kratos is more fleshed out than Gravewalker is. Not only because we only had 2 games with Gravewalker, but he also didn't really do with that much with him, especially with Shadow of War. Seemed like
Italian.
Yeah.
The best way I can put this is I never finished Shadow of War. I finished Shadow of Mordor. I'm just getting my thoughts together on this. But the thing about Shadow of Mordor is I don't remember a fucking thing about it. Like, I seriously don't. To me, it was Lord of the Rings Arkham City. That's what all that game was to me.
Yeah,
That's an accurate assessment, actually.
Yeah, that's
very
very
accurate, actually.
It's a very a bare bone storyline with great gameplay. That's how I view Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah, that's what it is. I never finished Shadow of War because unlike Shadow of Mordor, where you could kill the captains, the lieutenants, and all that, or you can convert them. Every time I go back to that menu, it just resets, and I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. So I kind of stopped playing.
That's one of the reasons why I was kind of hesitant to play Shadow of War, because I liked the permanence of my actions that Shadow of Mordor established. Like there would be like a ripple effect instead of just the entire board is just swept clean. Like, bruh.
What do you mean?
What do you?
So
I played the demo version of Shadow of War, and it had the same similar mechanics as the base game. I played the entirety of God of War. I mean, the entirety of Shadow of Mordor, so I know how to properly contrast two of them.
Okay, so
different, and that's why I didn't want to buy the actual game.
That's funny. I would love to hear Wisp rage about that. I actually find Wisp raging about the God of War films incredibly entertaining.
The films,
games,
yes.
You moron!
With new God of War
Done.
Stuff.
Oh.
I mean,
I know they're interactive movies done, but god damn.
Yeah, I guess.
Look. John only woke up 5 minutes ago. He's eating his lunch. The man doesn't have a brain yet.
Well, apparently neither does Chris. Chris, do you even know who Wisp is?
If you do not know,
considering he spelled her name with 2 S's, I don't think so.
I would be interested to hear Wisp's opinion, because I find her takes on the new God of War games, especially Ragnarok, very entertaining, even if I'm just skeptical of everything that she says.
I would be too, because like we said before, this is all up for interpretation. As for my thoughts about Atreus and Kratos, I feel like Kratos has come quite a long way. Well, actually, it's kind of interesting because in God of War 1, I got to the point where you go to the desert to find Kronos. He is a killing machine, but he's not. It's not that he's not an outright murderer, but it doesn't seem like he's the kind of guy to just kill needlessly. And the reason I say that is because a lot of people, because the reason I say that is because the only people he seems to kill are those who gets in his way, whether it be his brothers, like Perseus, like poor Perseus, he had no chance.
Or Heracles.
Or Hermes.
Oh
god.
Oh, Hermes is easily one of the best parts of God of War 3. He is easily the best part.
No, he's so witty.
Oh, come on. Whoever plays him, just perfect casting. Whoever played him.
Oh, easily.
Mhm.
But
Smug. I love it.
the smugness, it makes cutting off his legs so satisfying.
Yeah.
And then he starts hobbling around on
Lazy
one leg, but
doggo.
still going like the fucking Flash.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that, Rika. I know he killed off the captain. Well, actually, he kills the captain in every game. Like even in Hades, when he's in Tartarus, for God's sake, the man still finds a way to make this poor captain suffer. Yeah, he's the one on the ship who he basically
the entire series.
It is. He's the only. I mean, you could argue he's in Kratos' way every single time.
But it just, but it wasn't intentional.
No, it was intentional. It was definitely intentional, but it was more apathy than outright murder.
Mm.
God of War 2 and 3 didn't help to humanize Kratos' character. Oh, hold on. No, I do agree with that. He just becomes a rage monster in 2 and 3, especially 3. Yes, but here's the thing: you don't have to. You don't have to kill the people in Athens.
Yeah.
They are collateral damage more than anything else.
Like, those deaths are not necessarily canon within the story of God of War because they're entirely up to the player's decision.
Right. Or, just collateral damage, like I said, because it actually, writer has it right. You got to break a few eggs to make guacamole. And especially when the Blades of Chaos have an arc of like 8 feet and 180 degrees.
Yeah.
You're going to break a few eggs on your way out.
Yeah. Reminds me of a Senator Armstrong quote.
Yeah, we're making the mother of all omelets, Jack. Can't cry over every egg.
You can't fret over every egg.
But oh Lord. But I did find Kratos. I did find it interesting though that Kratos throughout the entire game is kind of fighting with himself to stop from going back into old habits.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like it's kind of underdeveloped.
In what way exactly?
Because it's not like there's never a point in the game where he's holding back from an all-out rampage. Like, the best way I can describe it is like I said before, he kills those who get in his way, right? And if that was the case, wouldn't he have just leveled that dwarf village, like when after Atreus disappears, or in Vanaheim, or wherever the dark and light elf place is? It feels like Valheim. If he was looking for Valheim, he would have leveled. So if this was old Kratos, he would have leveled places looking for his kid.
Well, he already knows that Atreus is in Asgard. It's just that he has no method or avenue to Asgard.
Fair enough. If that's the case, then he probably would have threatened Tyr in the game. He probably would have, because Tyr is known to travel the realms.
Yeah, but he didn't know that Tyr would even have an avenue to Asgard. He thought all were closed up.
Hold on. We did know he would, though, because what was it? Because I believe in the first game, and I looked this up, they were saying how Tyr could travel the realms at will. Like any of them.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's what was said.
I must have missed that.
But it doesn't ever feel... It feels like he's fighting with himself, but it's never a battle you'd think he'd lose.
Well, I think maybe he's trying to not see himself as the monster anymore because he doesn't want to go down that path again eventually.
He doesn't want to revert back to those roots. That's why he was hesitant in just brutalizing Heimdall.
Which...
Because
that was a close one. You are right. That one, but he kills him anyways. And I understand it's more of self-defense.
Yeah, it was more of self-defense than just pure outright hatred.
Right.
Because he gave Heimdall an opportunity to spare him, but Heimdall was too petty to do so. And, that's what happens. He ignored his final warning, and, It's
And then he
I think also-
explodes.
I think also the bit with Heimdall in 2018 as well. He just wants to be left alone at that. Granted, at that point, he just want to be left alone, of course, but he doesn't want to go back to that place exactly.
But
All that mentality, sorry.
that being said, though, like I feel Kratos is fine. I just kind of feel like that could have been developed more. The whole anger, the whole like verge of rampage sort of thing. But
I do. Oh,
Good.
sorry. Continue.
Go ahead.
I do recall there was a cutscene where after Atreus left to Asgard quite abruptly, he did have almost like an emotional breakdown, but then he was reminded of Faye and how we should never essentially like be better than our flaws.
We must be better. Yeah.
Yeah, we must be better.
Yeah.
So that prevented him from just going out completely berserk on everyone. And instead he was just punching the wall just to focus on trying to find like more peaceful methods to get to Atreus.
Right. I did like that actually.
Yeah.
Atreus, on the other hand, I liked him in the first game. I really did. I thought he was a very well done kid character. And
Yeah.
as everybody knows, that's very hard to do.
Mhm.
Yes.
I found him somewhat obnoxious in this game.
There's
How so?
Isn't
Oh,
there
no,
a kind of
obnoxious
a whole
children.
running? Isn't there a whole running thing where he keeps saying "be better," but he doesn't give any specifics?
No.
But
What I'm referring to is specifically that the first game was about Atreus. It was a coming of age story for Atreus more than anything
Mhm.
else.
yeah,
But the problem is, the reason why he annoyed me is because it feels like between games, his personality did a complete 180. Like, he's now what the annoying kid character would have been in the first game. And I understand the whole idea is that it's another coming of age story. It's now that he's a man. He is a man now, and he's trying to forge his own path.
yeah, he wants to be more independent, and his dad is kind of hesitant to do so because he doesn't view him as mature enough to be.
And
as
he's
independent
not.
as
I
he
have
is.
to agree
and
with
he is not.
Kratos.
Yeah,
He's not.
like that's a character flaw for Atreus.
Right, but it also seems I can't explain it. But as we all know, what's true and how I feel is what I feel is more important than what is true, as we all are aware. Anyways, but I kept having this nagging feeling like he completely forgot all the lessons that he learned in the first game. Kratos in the first game overemphasizes the
Like close their hearts to their
Not just
suffering
that.
because they don't feel for
not
you.
just that, but the whole thing about being cautious, like
Mhm.
planning out your moves, going to having a plan or having the discipline to restrain yourself. And now I get he's a teenager, but when
Mhm.
your dad is Kratos,
Yeah, and on top of that, he doesn't have any other influence as well besides Mimir.
right?
Well, I think it's also to do with that he's also a Spartan as well, because obviously he grew up in a
Yes,
Spartan
that's why.
society. The Spartans were
Yeah.
very intelligent for what they were. I mean, brutal as they may be, they were very intelligent. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing. Like, and I'll admit, there's a line in the game where he says he specifically did not raise Atreus to be Spartan because he said he did not want to put Atreus through that. And
You
that's
were about to call him Tarik instead
I
of
did.
Atreus, weren't you?
I was, yes.
Oh,
I did
Tarik.
not raise
Oh, little Tarik.
Freudian
You know,
fucking
but-
slip. What do you want from me? Okay, anyways, or Freudian fucking fuck up. Okay, what do you want from me? Anyways, get a little alliteration going on there.
Yeah, nice
Anyways, the point I'm
Aw,
trying to make here,
alliteration.
is that he's taking all of these unnecessary risks that you would have thought. Just not even if he wasn't raised as a Spartan, a man like Kratos or a father like Kratos would have drilled into his skull, you do not attack unless you know exactly what you're going to do.
Yeah, I agree.
and
It could have had a bit more development instead of us just cutting to when Fenrir died.
yeah, the Fenrir stuff was odd to me because I'm like, where did these wolves come from? Were
I
these
would
weren't in
really
the first game?
well, considering like Midgard is an entire realm on its own, like it's far larger than what the player can actually explore. I wouldn't put it past me to say, oh, they found some wolves. Like that's completely
I
reasonable.
I understand, but it's sort of like to me it felt like if you were going to do the if you were watching the old Yeller and just kind of skip to the end where the boy shoots the dog. That's what it felt like.
Well, I wouldn't really like. Would you say it's like a subversion of expectations in that regard, or just?
I feel like it's just a plot point so you can get Fenrir as Garm later down in the game.
Well, yeah, but that in turn also acts as like a bonding moment to fully amend Atreus and Kratos' dynamic, as well as establishing a world building element that will later be utilized to defeat Odin.
I would agree with you, but the problem is it then becomes a kind of minor character point that Kratos sees the dogs or the wolves as dogs, like literally as a utility rather than a creature.
Well, that actually makes sense given where he comes from.
It does, but that's why the scene to me does not work. Because Atreus has to ask him specifically, can I have a moment to grieve, please? And you were saying that brings them closer. I'm like, not really.
Oh, well, I meant that the Garmer incident, having Atreus and Kratos be closer and fully unveiling all the secrets that they had throughout the game, and eventually them boiling out and just them being completely trusting each other. I wasn't referring to the beginning of the game.
Okay, fair enough. But that's my problem. Like, other than that, though, I feel like Atreus did come into his own throughout the game, but I just feel like it feels like we got a completely separate character, especially because he started referring to himself as Loki. And Kratos brings that up at one point. He says, "You're not Loki, you're Atreus." And I'm going, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. I can kind of see that because his mother was a giant and he of course had those powers are somewhat bestowed upon him, he becomes a bit more exacerbated over the potential of who he could be, especially since his role in Norse within his role. The role in his world is so monumental that it could actually bring down the Allfather. I can definitely see that those ambitions getting to his head to finally come to his own. But yeah, I do agree there needed to be a bit more time to establish.
That's all I wanted. I wanted a bit more time for the game to develop why Loki acts different than Atreus, rather than being a meld of the two. That's all I wanted to know.
Do you think they could have already done in 2018, essentially, when Atreus basically acts all high and mighty, he's always high and he's godlike powers, we're gods, we can do what we want, essentially, that kind of thing?
I would say yes, but the reason why I say no is because we don't get the Loki reveal until the very last moment of the game. Like, the last moment. And it feels more like it feels more like a kid got a new toy and realized, I could do whatever the fuck I want. I am a god.
So with the curse... Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, with the cursory knowledge I know about this game, is, the character Atreus, based on an actual, mythological figure that would relate it to the whole
he's Loki.
He is also Loki thing? No. The name Atreus as an alternative.
No, I don't think Atreus is adapted from anywhere. It's completely original.
Okay, I was just curious if it was
actually. I think the reason why Kratos named him Atreus is because Atreus was the name of one of his Spartan friends.
it was the name of a Spartan warrior who he said in this was in the game, it was actually a very touching moment. He said that Atreus was a Spartan warrior that made everyone in the army smile.
Yeah.
He was a good warrior, he was a good friend, and when he died, he was buried with all the honors of Sparta, but he was considered like a very close friend to Kratos, or at least someone who brought him hope.
Yeah.
And I do have to agree with Chris here. I do have to agree with Chris here. It feels like an identity crisis, and I can get that, but we didn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't know what Faye was doing until partway through Ragnarok.
Mm-hmm.
Because they talk to Sindri, they talk to Brock, and they reveal the whole thing that she thought she fought with Thor. She did all this other stuff. She led a rebellion against Asgard. But we don't get that information until way later. We know nothing about Faye in the first game.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like there had to, they wanted to make this game this series a trilogy when they set out. Like, I think that's quite clear.
It did feel like that, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like
I did get part of
I feel like we got part of the middle at the beginning of the game, then we got the second half of the end at the end of the game.
Yeah. Like I said before, God of War Ragnarok does have some pacing issues, and it's quite prevalent when you essentially mesh two stories together.
That is the only reason. Now, I'm not saying these are bad characters; they're very good characters. I just feel like something was lost when they decided to do one game instead of two. That being said, though, what did you guys think of Thor, Odin, Thrud, what's not Freya, Sif, all the Norse characters, like the Aesir?
Mm-hmm. I thought all of them were really well crafted. I thought all of them were very well crafted, except for Sif.
Okay. Codex?
To be fair, when I first saw the image for Thor, I was like, why is he so chubby?
Mm-hmm.
But then I thought to myself, wait, okay, so there's probably a reason for that, and Thor has a bit of daddy issues. He's
a bit.
Obviously, he's
on the level of Zeus and Kratos, literally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, a massive bit, but let's put it that way. No, he's still technically a powerhouse, of course, with Mjolnir and obviously his bulk, of course.
I actually really like the parallel that.
I did like their. I saw little bits of their introduction.
Oh,
and
Dumb's alive.
Like, okay. I'm listening to guests who are a little bit more knowledgeable than I am before I add my 2 cents.
Look, my only role here is to be snarky and contradict people. So,
Yeah. So as I was saying, I like the parallels between this version of Thor and what Kratos was like in the first 3 games.
Right.
Because they have a very similar dynamic.
They're a tool.
Pardon?
They're a tool. That's all they are.
Yeah, like they're essentially just a useful pawn that can't think for themselves. And because Thor kind of embodies a lot of the beliefs that Kratos used to have, it's very interesting to see their dynamic in the very beginning of the game, and when Ragnarok occurs and they finally have that final fight together. And Kratos says, "No, we have to be better than this." I know
he doesn't kill him. Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be better for our children. And
Odin, sorry, go on.
I thought was a great villain. He
was terrific.
I loved Odin. Yeah, it was such a breath of fresh air to have a main God of War villain that not only tests Kratos's bronze, but also his mind, because he was extremely deceptive. He's extremely intelligent. He's actually I would say he is the second most intelligent character in the entire game. First one being Mimir, of course.
Right.
Oh, cool. And the design of Odin. Now, that's the thing I actually generally do like about the design. It's what's the one I'm looking for?
Like, he's
It's
very humble. He
deceptive.
looks very
Like,
humble.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
and humble as well. But he's very deceptive that way because
Mhm.
from you see a frail old man, but he's actually quite not only quite powerful because he's the son of he's the king of the gods essentially for the Norse.
Mhm.
But he's also quite intelligent, which kind of plays a lot into what he is in his actual lore as well, because he is also he's always looking for a monkey's paw essentially, or looking for a loophole around the deal you're making with him essentially.
Yeah, or essentially just trying to find a way to prevent Ragnarok, and by doing so, he in turn creates Ragnarok, which is also another interesting parallel from Kratos, who actually wants to also prevent a war from occurring, but because of his actions, war has to happen. So I do like the contrast between both Odin and Kratos in that regard. Like Odin kind of embodies the negative traits of Kratos, the flaws that Kratos has in this game, and then Thor embodies the negative traits that Kratos had in the first three games.
One of the things.
Let me get this straight. This game has the trope of by trying to avoid destiny, you fulfill destiny. Oh my god!
Yes.
Yes and no. Yes and
Because
no.
Okay.
It's very odd.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it's very much like how fate is actually discussed in this game is actually quite thought-provoking if you think about it, because like nothing is particularly set in stone as what the Norns talked about. It's essentially just they're just predicting like what would be the most plausible outcome given like when two personalities or multiple personalities clash. Like Kratos, for example, doesn't want Ragnarok to occur because he doesn't want to be essentially start another war like what happened in Greece. But at the same time, he's not going to allow Heimdall to kill Atreus, and the Norns specifically said that Heimdall is planning to kill Atreus because Heimdall doesn't trust him. And by killing Heimdall, because he's one of the Aesir and spilled Aesir blood, would thereby violate the contract or deal that Odin set out to not spill any Aesir blood at the beginning of the game, which will in turn create war. So it's very much a conflict of interest kind of dilemma.
Well, it's not a conflict of interest. It's more like
kind of, but it's more so.
It's an odd situation. It's a very odd situation.
Yeah, I'm just going to put out as a dilemma, minus me saying.
It's a dilemma.
But mostly just a dilemma.
But one of the most interesting things I heard, I think it was Legacy who said this, that Odin in this game is basically a used car salesman. And I said, I fucking love that. He's a shyster. There is no better word for him. He's a shyster. He's constantly talking. He's constantly whispering in everyone's ear. He's trying to manipulate all variables. And I'm kind of like, I'm sitting there going, I'm loving this. I haven't seen a character like this in years.
Yeah, like I also love his hand gestures too. He's so active. He's just a joy to watch. I love him.
Yeah.
I also love the line when he talks to like Durlin or something like, "It's your entire economy is speaking to you." Like
that was.
Like, he has all the cards at play. Nobody can deceive him.
One of my favorite moments in the game. I was telling this. One of my favorite moments in the game, and this is relating to the character of Freyr, who I'm sure people have a big problem with because he doesn't feel. It almost feels like he kind of doesn't belong.
Yeah, like, I was about to say that he's like the outcast. Like
he is, but I meant, and even like in the game he's in, he feels like such a wild card.
Yeah, he feels way too. He kind of like comes off as like a college graduate.
That makes sense.
Someone's like optimistically like oblivious about the world and thinking that like, oh yeah, I graduated college, I know everything about the world, and then when you actually get some world experience, like, oh, I don't know anything.
Who doesn't belong? Freyr from Vanaheim. He feels like he's in a completely different game because everyone else is so stoic. They're so serious and all that. I mean, like, obviously you have Brock, but Brock fits in very well. One, because he's a dwarf, and two, he's a foul-mouthed dwarf. And for some, and you know, like, I can see that fitting.
Yeah, he's extremely blunt, and that's why Kratos loves him.
That's why Kratos considers him friend, and I mean, I would too.
Yeah, I love Brock.
Yeah,
we need to get you a dwarf.
Yeah, he's the most.
Sweet, can I kick him like a football?
Well, I'm a dwarf.
No.
I think that it's interesting. One thing that Wisp actually brought up that I'd be interested to hear you discuss is kind of the idea that most of the gods in the North Pantheon is basically a Californian-style family drama.
I mean, it is a family drama, but it feels more like the family drama that the Greeks were having.
Yeah, like, it feels like more of a repeat of that. Like, no family dynamic is healthy, except for Atreus and Kratos by the end.
Surely all ancient, like, god myths is just family drama, though. Just extreme.
Every myth has family drama. That's a try and true.
That's the whole point.
That's all point of the pantheons, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
it's a giant soap opera.
Like the whole reason Zeus exists is because his dad had like a mental breakdown and thought his kids was going to take everything from him, so he ate them. Like,
yeah.
You know.
And then Kronos was like, "Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to eat my kids too."
And Rhea's like, "You know what? I want one of them to survive. I'll give him a rock." It's like a really shit sitcom.
Like, how the hell do you come up with this?
If you're a really drunk Greek, apparently.
Yeah, it's so amusing, like the stuff they come up with. Also, apparently they made an entire god of actually they made multiple gods that represent certain aspects of processing wine. It's so funny. Like, there isn't just like one wine god. No, there's multiple that represent certain phases of it. It's so beautiful.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, wait, hold on.
Winemaking is a fine art. Of course, you need multiple gods. How are you going to get it right otherwise?
Wasn't even Percy Jackson that series all about family drama?
Yep. Yep. And that's why. You know what? That's why one of the reasons that series has like the right tone to be about Greek gods. It may be like kind of, kidified, and it's great for like getting kids into history and that. And and he was a history teacher, I believe, the guy who wrote it. But like, I
think he was. Yeah,
there's a reason it fits in. The reason it fits the tone is because it's just like the next generation of family drama, with crazy god shit happening. It's
yeah,
amplified.
So the exact quote was, "They didn't change the mythology. The gods were changed so much that they're unrecognizable, only to fit this uncreative Californian soap opera plot with a sleazy, egotistical car salesman at the top. The whole cosmology was changed just to fit the Loki nonsense in. The mythology has to bend to the Californian family drama."
I don't really see how it's unrecognizable, since there isn't a consistent thorough line of what Odin is or what Thor is, or
like we said earlier at the beginning of this goddamn stream.
So we kind of debunked that.
Yeah, pretty much. I was going to say the only person in the better family dynamic is ironically Persephone and Hades, exactly.
Yeah,
he killed both. And Kratos kills both.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And good.
I mean, that's what we watch God of War stories, just to see Kratos kill some gods in some interesting ways and fascinating dilemmas.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'm trying to think though. But so I do like all the Aesir. I do like the way they're portrayed, and not only that, but I feel like you can kind of forgive them not acting like they're in their prime, because if you think about it, Ragnarok is the end of the Norse gods. That is the point of Ragnarok. It's their apocalypse or their Armageddon. And it feels like they've done all the interesting stuff already. Now they're not just sitting on their laurels though, waiting for the end. They are actively trying to avoid it. but you're at the end of their character arcs if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Thor.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's true.
Thor lost 2 of his kids 3 years
Mhm.
earlier due to Kratos and Loki or Atreus.
Same difference.
Anyways, he lost 2 of his kids, and the man turned to alcohol. Sif apparently became this helicopter mom. I don't know what Heimdall was like. Because I don't think
he was always pretentious.
Hermes
Gamma
2.0.
male.
Basically.
Yeah, he's literally Hermes 2.0.
Yeah, he is.
But
Probably made it a lot more difficult for Kratos to not
let him
kill
go.
Yeah, like I'm trying to control every fiber of my being, not to utterly brutalize you to oblivion.
But I feel like it's again like when you add these 2 parts together, that there is no one interpretation of these characters, and they're at the end of their lives. They're at the end of their world. I think the way they're reacting is fine.
Yeah, like there's like
Makes sense.
some kind of like there's a slight somber tone to all of them. Like you can already like tell that a lot of the grown-ups at least have reached their prime, or like they're past their prime, and they're just kind of going through the motions of life, trying to do what they can to try to like essentially just like maintain control of what they already have. They don't really want to seek anything more.
If there's one character, okay, sorry.
No, I was just going to respond. We have no idea where Wish is at. Probably is either asleep or doing something else.
Yeah, I invited her.
Yeah.
And so did one other guy, but she never responded.
Yeah, and she was online while you responded, so I think she saw it but just didn't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
The show is I think they're talking about Owl House.
Oh God.
We're not touching that. I've never seen it and I don't care.
No,
Anyway,
yeah, I don't care either.
The only character I really didn't care for was Angraboda, and that's just because she comes in from time to time. You have to do the whole stupid Jotunheim thing when you're on the yak going around collecting shit, and it was boring. I did not like the Ironwood bit at all, but I don't think anyone did.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts? I
actually did like Angraboda a bit. Like she was very feminine. Like she enjoyed like taking care of animals, and she was quite supportive of Atreus in multiple instances. Like she didn't really view herself as like superior to Atreus. She also had some her own insecurities as well. But I thought that they made an interesting dynamic. It was wholesome.
I mean it is a fair point, and she does have some good lines. I just think the whole Ironwood section really turned me off to her because I associate that slog with her.
Well, I think they're planting the seeds to develop a bit further with Atreus and
like
this.
she was most definitely going to be a more pivotal character in the next installment, which is probably going to take place in either Egyptian mythology or Hinduism.
I'm trying to think about who else is there.
Because especially since that's the funny thing about the Hindu pantheon. They are way stronger than any god.
Yeah, there's like 900 of them.
They have a new god every day, from what I understand. Literally, every day is a new god.
Oh my.
That's not inaccurate, actually, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's the way I was explained it too. But I'm trying to think about who else. I don't feel like there's much to say about Freya, in all honesty. Like the character development was fine, but it was kind of predictable. She forgave Kratos. They went on to fight Odin. It was.
I thought it was interesting to have her be paired up with Kratos because she's at a point in her life where she was arguably just as vengeful as Kratos was in the original God of War games, where she was just like completely like she had like unbridled rage towards literally everyone that like knocked on her doorstep, and
Right.
her learning to forgive Kratos in turn helped heal her loss almost, and try to like and actually like restore and build something out of it, and that in turn prevented her from using her hatred to outright just kill Odin when she didn't need to. Like, no, that's not who I am. Like, okay, Odin can't really harm anyone. That's the main point of this mission. Like, I don't care if he's gonna be stuck in this marble for all eternity. Like, I have better things to worry about with my brother.
That is the interesting
Well,
thing, though.
not my brother. Like, my brother's dead at that point, but you know.
Well, he didn't die till afterwards. But
Yeah,
one of the
yeah.
one of the things I found interesting is just why did this game have such a hate boner against Sindri of all people? Like, holy shit!
I never really thought of it that way. Like, yeah, like nobody gave him the credit he deserved.
No, but he was the one to suffer the most.
Well, that
Like it is.
well, to be honest, like even Odin didn't predict that he would have to kill Brock. So it's just like, oh, okay, Brock was of course like being extremely perceptive of Tyr's very blatant deception, and considering how blunt Brock is, he absolutely despises that, especially since he did not trust Tyr for day one. Like he did not
Right.
have the emotional connection that Mimir and Freya had with Tyr, which is why they both gave Tyr a lot of leeway, which in turn made the perfect disguise for Odin. But Brock, who had no personal connection to Tyr, realized that okay, where is this like pathway to Asgard that you just talked about? Like I'm supposed to be the one that's supposed to transport people around here. I've never heard of another route to Asgard. What are you talking about? What things do you have? You just spend all day in a wardrobe doing God knows what. Like, like take that mask out of like, get that mask out of your hand and give it to Atreus. He's the one who earned it.
It was a great moment. It was a very great moment, but it was still funny. And right, KR is right. Atreus was responsible for a lot of bad things.
Yeah,
And I'm
like
not saying his arc was.
great.
I'm not saying his arc
Mhm.
was bad. Sindri's arc was bad.
He was tortured pretty hardcore.
He was.
Mhm.
He suffered the most out of all of these characters.
Yeah, like you said, like he just kept on giving and everyone else just kept on taking, and he never really got the validation he deserved. He never really got anything out of the deal. He was mostly just trying to help his friends out, and everyone just kind of didn't
took
really
advantage.
Yeah. But at least he's the one that actually killed Odin at the end of the day.
That was just brutal.
Yeah, go to
That was
go to
cold.
yeah. If there's a realm below,
Well, to be fair, he
Helheim,
did
go to
lose his
that
brother,
one.
so fair is fair, I suppose.
Most definitely. And on top of that, Sindri probably also felt a lot of like hatred towards himself too, because if it wasn't for him, then Brock would actually be in like an afterlife of some kind. If he didn't try to like revive like a portion of Brock's soul earlier on in the story, then Brock could have actually like died properly within Norse mythology and go to Valhalla or something, or just like some kind of afterlife. Well, not Valhalla, but just some kind of afterlife instead of just eternal darkness.
Hell,
So
essentially.
he also, so it's very plausible that he also felt a lot of self hatred or self loathing because of that, and which is why he's still very he's just full of self-loathing even after he killed Odin, because at the end of the day, I think he still ultimately just blames himself more than anyone else.
Hold on, you guys want to? Chris wants us to talk about themes. Yeah, you want to talk about the themes? How did you feel?
Tarik, you sounded like your dad then. You went full fucking southern then.
You want to talk about the themes?
Well,
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh my lord.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Okay. You know what? Let's give the audience what it wants. It wants fucking themes. Okay. So fatherhood, good or bad? Because we see both
Good.
sides.
yeah,
Good or bad? That's how you start a thematic conversation.
yeah,
Is it
essentially, like,
good or is it bad?
Well, I mean, we watch Odin humiliate Thor multiple times, like,
yeah.
and to the point of alcoholism.
Yeah, as like we saw how Atreus and Kratos started to trust each other more and started to essentially support each other more. Meanwhile, Odin's and Thor's relationship was just down spiraling
Further
to
and
the
further.
point where further and further until Odin actually kills his son.
Without
And-
remorse. What a cold bastard.
Yeah, he was like, "No, it wasn't my fault. You turned them against me."
So basically playing an Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah,
Oh.
essentially.
Skywalker done right. An Anakin Skywalker done right. That's not cringe.
Yes.
Yeah, most everything to do with the prequels is kind of cringe. I agree.
We're not getting into that here.
Yeah.
We're not getting into that here. Come
When
on.
we are not having a prequels conversation, shut the fuck up, Dan.
We're
That's
having
not why you're here.
We're talking about God of War.
I'm going
We're
to take
talking about
shots
something
at the
better than the
prequels for the rest of
prequels.
my life. Don't worry.
Yeah,
Oh,
well,
God.
not on this stream. This is not a prequel stream.
Yeah. Oh my
Fine.
god.
That's one of the Bard's rules. You can't talk about the prequels.
We're not on your channel now, Dan.
You're in my house, boy.
Yeah, you're in territory.
But
As y'all are.
in all honesty, though, it just felt like a natural continuation for the theme of it wasn't so much a theme of like the usual stuff. Hold on one moment.
Mhm. And there are also
Oh.
themes of vengeance and trying to overcome it, or having it completely possess your perception of reality. And there's also, of course, the theme of like passiveness versus being active, which is quite similar to, but not similar, but it just kind of reminded me of Hamlet, because that was the only other work of fiction that kind of heavily dealt into passiveness versus activeness, being active. There's also themes of fate and whether or not like your decisions matter at the end. And yeah, as shown in God of War, yes, they do.
No, they don't. No, your decisions don't matter. Whatever you're fated to do, you're going to do regardless. Ragnarok still happens.
Well, in relation to your own choices that you make because of your personality and what you value.
Well,
so it's not necessarily set in stone because the Norse specifically described it as essentially just your personalities clashing and that being predictable. Like, oh, like your son's going to be in danger. Well, it's going to be predictable that you're going to try to defend him.
well, one of the other things is that like it also kind of shows that the people making these freaking prophecies are being dicks, mostly because it's all very vague. Like, you're going to Ragnarok's going to happen, but how it happens, well, we're not going to tell you the important detail.
Well, I think when it comes to like very large, I think when it comes to very large events that affect like very prominent members' lives, or just like most lives in general, like with something of that multitude, there's going to have multiple. There can be multiple reasons as to why it occurs or why it's an outcome, and it's very like analogous in that sense.
Well, one of the things I found interesting in terms of like the way the plot progressed and the terms of fate is that in the end of the last game, you see Kratos dead, like he's just on an altar dead, and Atreus' entire motivation for going to Asgard is to prevent that.
Yeah,
but we do see a whole bunch of other stuff happen that as ordained by fate, but it kind of feels like a cop-out that it didn't turn out that Kratos was just pretending to be dead or something. Like, they never even get there. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I can see that. However, it feels like
the whole
something
thing.
that
Hold on, I'm
yet
not
to
finished.
be. Okay.
I'm not finished. Because the whole thing is about subverting fate, but it's also saying that fate is never clear. It's always up for speculation on how you reach this point.
Mm-hmm.
But that point is never reached.
Well, considering the story is still continuing, it seems like like the payoff is still yet to come. Like, it's not like this is the end of the God of War storyline, because if that was the case, then I would agree with you. Yeah, it would be a cop out. But since there's still more story to tell, it has yet to be paid off.
I don't know if they're. I feel like they're not going to pay it off, and I know that this, and I have nothing to back this up, but I feel like some stuff in 18 was kind of forgotten about on its way to Ragnarok. I can't back it up with anything, but something in the back of my mind is telling me there was some stuff referenced that was not seen in Ragnarok. Now, I could be completely wrong.
Tarik's spidey senses.
I haven't seen the full story of the 2018 version of God of War in since it originally released, so almost 5 years.
I haven't played it since it came out. Yeah.
2018 really 5 years ago?
Yes, it's 2023,
Oh,
sweetie.
Yes. Oh, that scares me. Don't like that.
It's been half a decade already.
Oh no!
Oh,
Imagine that, a half a decade.
And
so
life
hold on.
has improved so much in that time.
Hold on, Chris. Hold on, Chris. So you're telling me it's like Doctor Who, where you have fixed points in time. Kratos' death was a variable, but Ragnarok was always going to happen. We couldn't subvert that, no matter how hard we tried.
Yeah.
yeesh.
Congratulations. You've now made a comparison to Doctor Who and God of War. How's that make you feel?
Look,
Well,
Doctor Who is a prestigious franchise, and
that has been utterly raped by stupid ideologues like Chris Chibnall.
Look, we don't talk about that shit. Doctor Who ended with the last Peter Capaldi episode, and you cannot fucking tell me otherwise.
Anyways, so I think we've covered enough of the story. Now I'm gonna ask this question one more time. Who here has played the game?
No.
Not me.
No.
Nope.
Awkward.
Okay. I have to. Okay, so I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed most of the experience. I hated the gameplay. It pissed me off so much.
Was it worse than 2018 gameplay?
I've heard that 2018's was worse than this one. I don't think I died as much in 2018 as I did in this one. And this is not I don't think this is my abilities as a gamer. I really don't. Because for some reason, Kratos, a former Spartan who had it drilled into his head to always guard the rear, cannot use his shield behind him. And it's almost like the game is wanting you to corner yourself in order to have a chance at combat. And then, of course, you have the perfect block. You have the shield bash. You have a bunch of circles around the enemies that will tell you what move you're supposed to do to counter them, and which is fine. But the problem is that that's not always a guarantee to work. And what I mean by that is I do the thing where I do the perfect block, right? And then they follow up with another attack immediately. And no matter what I do, I can never get the rhythm right. This may be on me. And I just could not get into the rhythm of this game. And I have no idea why. And not only that, but traversal was the biggest pain in the ass. Especially in Vanaheim, when you go through the rivers. because Vanaheim works in a weird way where depending on whether the sun is out or not, depends on the routes that are will determine what routes are open for you. And then you have to find a certain place to turn on the sun or turn off the sun. And I just found navigation so confusing.
Do you have a similar fault with the original trilogy?
No, I do not at all. In fact, I find the original trilogy's combat far more fun, and I actually find the set pieces a lot more interesting too. Say
Yeah,
what
like-
you.
Yeah, like the original God of War games definitely place a lot more emphasis on scale. Like with like besides like characters like Jormungandr or like that last battle at the end of 2018 God of War, there hasn't really been that many like extremely large, like grandiose landscapes, kind of like Chronos in God of War 3 that you play through, or giant bosses you have to fight.
That was what
Or
made
like
it cool.
or like the Colossus of Rhodes at the beginning of God of War 2.
Say what you will, God of War and I want to say God of War was partially responsible for this, along with Shadow of the Colossus. They kind of created the whole epic scaling boss fight. And what I mean by that is when you're literally scaling the boss, like you're climbing on him like a mountain.
Okay.
And not only that, but I remember people bitched about the QTEs in God of War 1. They are not that hard at all. Like they are actually far easier than I remember. And I feel like it good.
I think it's mainly because it's taken away from the player's choice, I think, if that makes sense.
Well,
Like,
it's not
thematically,
really
yeah.
because hold on.
Sorry, go on.
I'll explain why. Because
Yeah,
you don't have to use the move, the insta kill move with the QTE. You can continue to just beat the crap out of them and they will die. But the QTEs or the kill moves are the brutality of the game. That is where a lot of the brutality comes from. And I feel like it actually did add to the immersion of the game. It really did. Now, the problem with God of War Ragnarok is that the QTEs don't have that same visceral feeling as they did in the originals.
It feels more like an
Like
interactive film.
essentially.
What do you mean by QTEs? I've never heard that phrase before.
Quick time event. It's when
Quick-time event.
it's when a button when a button prompt appears on screen and you have to press it in time.
So like the last chances.
Kind of. Yeah, that's a
no.
good comparison actually, a little bit.
Yeah. It's like
But
you had
it's
to match like a button press or direction on the controller essentially to get either a fishing move or dodge a particular attack essentially from the enemy. That's basically what it is.
And then you have Chris saying that God of War 1 through 3 are just button mashing, and I'm like, yeah, but that's fun. I'll say it outright. That's fun. I miss games that were allowed to be fun. Like where the gameplay loop was actually fun. I like being this almost indestructible titan of power, this indestructible titan. Now, granted, if you play the game stupid, you're gonna get your ass kicked.
Yeah, like Dark Side Phil.
I think there's actually a good point. Doom actually does this really well, especially Doom Eternal.
Yeah, and I even say that Shadow of Mordor does so in a particular way as well.
One of the other things
it's less difficult, but you still you feel like you've conquered like an absurd amount of territory. I also like how like just recruiting an army is just so much fun and seeing them all tear each other apart.
One of the other things I have to admit is that Chris said something. Fuck your mindless fun. No, that's not it. Why do you need a game to make you feel powerful? Because I need to feel big. I want to feel. I want to feel like I could take on Zeus and live.
Yeah,
But there was some. I think I
You have to channel the inner voice to
Look.
tell you to be a big boy.
I'm trying to think. I actually did have a point. I did have a point to this, and then I got
But I think mainly
distracted. But
the issue with the QTEs, mainly, I think it's just overexposure. Probably that's the main thing.
that is true. That after that came out in God of War, every game had it. In fact, I own a game. I own a game called Ninja Blade, and that's even worse than God of War ever was, because that is an interactive movie. Oh, actually, have you ever heard of Telltale's Jurassic Park?
Oh
Yes.
God, don't.
That
Bad.
that is an interactive movie.
Oh my God.
Well, aren't they usually interactive movies? To be fair.
Yeah,
But this is more egregious.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
But this is far more egregious.
Yeah,
But,
because like in a lot of other Telltale games, it gives you like the illusion of like alternate paths that they'll eventually converge to a different ending. Meanwhile, like at the very last chapter, it'll be only like 2 or 3 choices actually matter. It's at the very end.
Yeah.
But no, that's not the case in Jurassic Park. It's so linear. Like you
It
cannot
is.
make you cannot make a wrong decision, so to speak, and have that and experience the consequences of that. Like it's you constantly have to go through one journey, and then at the very end there's like there's only one chance where like you can either save like Nina, I think it was, or you can just
Grab the money or something.
grab the money and just let her die. That is those are the only possible like outcomes throughout like what was it, like 7 hours of gameplay?
Not even, more like 5.
Yeah, 5.
Actually, it might have been more like 4. Anyways, that is a QTE game. But I'm trying to think about what not only that, but I've also just remembered that there's a lot of platforming in God of War, because it was supposed to be this cinematic game, but with actual gameplay to it.
Mm-hmm. There was cinematic in scope.
Say what?
It was cinematic in scope.
It's a Greek play. That's what it is. It's a Greek play with the budget of a Hollywood movie. And then, but then when you compare it to the new games, which is, and my friend put it, a friend of mine put this the most apt way I've ever heard. God of War 18 and Ragnarok are just Dark Souls light. It's nothing but dodging, blocking, and pressing an attack. In fact, the buttons are mapped the same way as Dark Souls, where heavy attack is R2, light attack is R1. I'm trying to think about what else. Dodge is, or roll is no, it's circle. No, it's not circle. It's double. No, it's double press X. That's not exactly like Dark Souls, but the framework is all there. And much like I've said about Game of Thrones multiple times, I feel like Dark Souls, good though it may be, has completely destroyed gaming discourse for at least the next 10 years.
Yeah.
50% of Game of Thrones is good.
Actually, Chris puts it correctly when he says that Dark Souls combined with some Last of Us flow and camera style. I do agree with that, actually.
Yeah, that is actually quite accurate, I would say.
One of the other things I completely forgot how to use, because I just completely forgot it existed, is that your partner character, Atreus, Freya, Brock, Sindri, each of them have like a special attack. Like you could use like it's usually arrows, but they can also do like this power attack. Throughout the game, I completely forgot it exists. Would it be useful in gameplay? Oh, probably, but I totally forgot how to use it. And they give you instructions in this little codex to remind you of mechanics. I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, well, we have codex right here.
Yes. Shut up. This is why I work with professionals. Don't get stupid bullshit like this.
I'm sorry if I'm body of information. Exactly. I'm a tome of knowledge. What do you expect me to be?
Oh my God.
Oh, Christ.
Deary, deary me.
Oh,
But
I
Theo,
found
good to
something
see
like
ya.
Blaze name.
but oh, now I remember. Okay, who here is familiar with Monster Hunter?
Very little.
I've heard
I
of
heard
it, but I
about the
haven't played
movie, and I know that I heard about the game after the movie came out.
Holy shit!
Ouch.
Wow.
Damn, that's the first time I've ever heard that from anyone. Okay, so
I completely forgot there was a movie.
it's made by the same guy. It's made by the same guy who did the Resident Evil movies, the original 6. Why does he keep getting Capcom contracts?
Because he's the only one who will touch it at this point, I think. Also, him and Mila Jovovich probably have a lot of money to throw around.
They
Also,
probably had the lowest. They probably had either the highest or the lowest bid. I don't know who was on top of who on this. Anyways, there's one point in the game when you go to Vanaheim and you're playing Monster Hunter for some reason. Like you're fighting Norse dragons, and it's in this large area of game that you don't have to go to. Like,
Yeah. Like, is it that the portion where you see like that frozen lightning strike that was originally caused by Faye?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the sinkholes or whatever.
Yeah,
And
okay.
and you don't have to do it, but I did it anyways because I tried to get the most out of the game. And that was easily one of the most frustrating areas to navigate. But because it's also using the day-nighttime cycle, but it's also unironically the most open in the entire game. And it is, I get a headache thinking about it still. Because I have no idea where to go. I have so much happening around me. And it's a tough area. It's a pretty tough area. And
How so exactly?
Well, you can't kill the dragons until you reach a certain area in their domain, like in their arena, if you will.
Mhm.
And if you're not in that arena, they will occasionally come down from the sky, sit on a perch, and start peppering you with fire, ice, electricity, etc. All the while, I'm still attacking other things. And this is one of the harder parts in the game. And then navigation is a complete nightmare because in order to navigate the area, you have to unblock the dam. And in order to do that, you have to go through a dual dragon fight, which I found very annoying. And I think I finally, and you know what's funny? I did not use the Blades of Chaos much in that game in Ragnarok. And the reason for that is because their range in this game is pitiful. Like in the original game, they probably got up to about 10 feet of range. Okay. And they had wide arcs and everything. And you had a variety of combo moves to do with them. Okay. In this game, a lot of the combo moves are gone. And you add to that the range is probably reduced by half. So you only have 5 feet of range.
Actually, that kind of makes sense considering we have the ice axe.
The Leviathan axe.
Leviathan axe, which works as both a long range and close range. And then we have the drop near spear, which entirely acts as long range. So it makes sense why they want the Blades of Chaos to be more focused on close range.
Or medium range, yeah.
Or medium.
But
just to work out those variables.
But that's the thing.
One caveat as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is probably just maybe a little bit of a cop up, but maybe it's the fact that Kratos is getting a little bit older. Probably.
No, because in the lore of God of War, the Greek gods are supposed to get far more powerful the older they get.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I rescind the question.
Yeah. But that is my biggest issue with the game is that another issue is that throughout the game I feel either overpowered or completely underpowered. There is no in between. Either Kratos can take a hit from a tank or a slight sneeze will push him over.
I guess some of them have been taking steroids. So.
This is why it's hard to do a gameplay analysis because none of you have played it. But this is my experience with this game.
Mhm.
And I was getting so many headaches navigating this game because the route to anywhere is always a pain in the ass. Wait, so you want to give final thoughts on this? I think we've been going for long enough. It's about an hour and a half
Yeah.
stream.
Yeah.
So objectively, like completely isolating the gameplay from the story, I give it 7.5 out of 10 objectively.
Right.
Like considering it's like 8 hours long, you have to take into consideration all the components that work and all the other components that didn't. And I'd say most of the components did work.
You're talking from a story perspective, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Story wise.
Okay.
I would say probably a 7. Again, from a story perspective.
It seems like it's
All right.
it's a decent story. And
Yeah, like I
without,
recommend it. Yeah.
And
Like, and it also makes for like one of the best films you could watch for free on YouTube.
Yeah. Done.
I'm just like, the controversy seems like it's more interesting than the game itself, to be perfectly honest.
Interesting take, I
does
have to
come up with
admit.
that, yeah.
Like, we're more emotionally invested in the controversy because we understand the story, so we understand like well, not necessarily where like some of the arguments are coming from. A lot of them are quite ludicrous, but we at least have something to like counteract them. But yeah, from an outsider who's only experienced the controversy and then later on the game, yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because like the game itself, like culturally speaking, it's really tame. I'm actually surprised that so many people jumped on the it's a woke bandwagon so quickly.
It is not a woke game. I did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
It's not
Like-
woke. Like the female characters, even like all the very combative female characters, all of them have flaws, and they actually learn from them by the end of the game. And essentially with Druid, like she gets already decimated by Heimdall when she first tries to counterattack him, and then Odin comes around near the end and is like, "Oh, here's Mjolnir. Here, take that one, sweetheart."
That's
Like,
all right, Becca, your thoughts?
I was just gonna say, like, I know virtually nothing about the game except the conversation, which only existed because a handful of people started having absolute meltdowns over it for some bloody
Yeah.
reason.
It
And having
reminded me-
discovered, having just sat there and listened to you guys talk about it for an hour and a half, like, and with Tarik on the phone to me every other day talking about the game, and just going through what actually happened in it, what his actual opinions are. Like, none of the issues and none of the pluses and none of the just basic things that happened in it came across as remotely, like, interesting to discuss story wise and and component wise to a game maybe, but like just did not understand why it was creating so much freaking controversy. I don't
think
understand what is wrong with people.
Caveat real quick? Can I say this one caveat?
Yeah.
I think it's mainly because people have been subjected to this for quite some time, maybe around 2014?
2014 was the start of Gamergate.
Oh,
Yeah, around that time. And I think people have been
preconditioned
bombarded with this thing so
Yeah.
many times. Exactly. It's kind of just blur between the line of something that may have these elements, but it's not going
But
that
it's really
direction, and something that
annoying.
is going that direction.
Yeah, like
It's really, really annoying when
it's
it's
almost
just like,
they're- it's almost like they're
Like-
thinking on autopilot. Like, oh, this is what you
They
should
are.
think when you have like vaguely similar elements that are introduced in the game. Like,
It's-
Precisely, yeah.
yeah,
I've described it before, but basically what happens is people they have their favorite analysis person that has gone through all of the media that they hate and explained exactly why mechanically it comes out as either shitly made or woke, right? And
Yeah.
they know all the talking points, and what they do is they copy and paste it onto the next thing and think they're being just like their favorite analysis guy, instead of actually just thinking and learning how to think like that person.
Nuance.
And so
Nuance is a thing of the past.
it really is.
yeah.
And it's and
Thinking-
you think of all of the great movies of the past, of like the 80s and shit, and like
Mhm.
all of the awesome things that we love from before people had this stupid brain. And how many of them, if they were released tomorrow, how many of them would jump on them and either call them logically consistent or woke?
Mhm.
And it's just
Yeah.
like,
The
it's
only
like,
reason
look,
why
there are
this game-
problems, but
Yeah.
fucking hell.
The only reason why this game has garnered so much controversy is because it was published in the Culture War era. Like, if the
Yeah.
Culture War wasn't so prevalent in media criticism, like, I highly doubt God of War Ragnarok would really even like be talked about this much. Like, yeah, a lot of like people be like in unanimous agreement that yeah, it's a good game, and then just move on with their lives.
Yeah, basically.
Here's
And it's funny because like I have like separate to all of that like argument, I have like my own issues with the idea that every time there's a female character in something, because most stories are based in combat, there are a kick-ass female character that kicks things, and there's something about that being the only character that is female that turns up in a story a lot of the time. That's
It's
kind of
a-
irritating because it means
it's
that they
really
can't.
lazy.
A lot of
Yeah.
writers.
Yeah.
Like, that's the best way I can describe that trope. It's just laziness. Like, oh, to like forget about Joan of Arc or like some actually like interesting historical figures, female historical figures that went through war. Like, let's just have them be this carbon pasted like man child that embodies all the attributes that we hate about men, but apply them towards women because female power.
I would
Well, not
totally
even
play
just
a
that.
hold on. I'd totally play a fantasy-based Joan of Arc game. That sounds cool.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Oh, we do have that already. We have one of
Yeah,
fantasy
like
exactly.
Joan
Tonia.
of
But
Arc gets
it's not even just her, though.
resurrected after he gets burned and just seeks vengeance on all of France for betraying her.
Even then, and I mean, I get it in a. I mean, it doesn't really apply to games because games are like by inherently like they're going to be something on the level of adventure fighting stuff. So a lot of the time, the female characters are going to be adventure fighting characters. But like, even Joan of Arc wears freaking armor. Like there is. So it's beyond that. It's like you can write a character that isn't fighting, and it's beyond just the female male dynamic. It's just more apparent in female characters, right? That is a thing, right? The ability to think beyond that paradigm and actually think of how conflict can happen without hitting someone with a sword, right? But like that's like a conditional thing, and it has very little to do with like the knee-jerk reaction that people have when they see a woman in armor. They're like, holy shit, she must be some kind of feminist thing, and it's like maybe she's not. Maybe it's Viking mythology.
Or maybe she's not a feminist. Maybe she's a tomboy.
Oh no, let's not do that
stop
shit.
to this right now, so you all better
please.
shut the
Thank
fuck
you.
up.
Thank you. Thank you for saving us.
Tomboys wrapped up. Jesus Christ.
Okay, so right now, okay, just real quick onto my verdict. Story-wise, I would actually probably, I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give it the 8. And the reason I say I give it the 8 is because the story is about Kratos and Atreus. And although there are some missteps along the way, some missed opportunities and some little development issues, I feel they were strong enough to carry me through the game, to make me want to know what happens next, along with guys like Odin and Mimir. They're all very well-rounded characters, so I'm going to give it the 8.
Yeah. Odin and Mimir are my favorite characters in the entire game.
But
they're probably some of my favorite characters of all time, to be honest.
But that being, Mimir's easily one of my favorites. Anyways,
I love him.
That being said, though, if I had to rank the gameplay, I would give it maybe a 6, bordering on a 5. I got such headaches playing this game. And it just, I did not. The best way to describe this game is that it does not respect your time. And and the gameplay loop is not all that fun. You travel to a place, kill the thing, collect the collectibles, leave. Go to a place, collect the thing, kill the enemies, get the collectibles, leave. And and of course it's always the longest route to get anywhere, even with the teleportation system or the quick travel system. And actually, the fact that the quick travel system is as long, I get it. It's an unbroken narrative. That's why you always go through the tree, but that still takes so long.
Oh, by the way,
can I ask a simple question now?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, for example, this is supposed to be like a cinematic film, essentially. Do you think the gameplay specifically is very simplified in that manner to make it more intriguing for the story to blossom, essentially?
Oh no, the game was clearly made with accessibility in mind. The entire idea is that it was made so that anyone playing it could get through the main story at the very least.
Yeah, that's why a lot of side characters point out how to solve a puzzle, which I find annoying.
Anyway, that was a thing, and to be honest, I needed it once or twice because I didn't see the thing I'm supposed to hit. You know what I mean?
Which I think is the flaw in the level design.
I would agree with that. Yeah, like it's mixed in with like the environment a little too much for me to notice. But that being said, all I know is that by the end of the game, my friend 100%ed it. And
wow.
I was like, holy shit. And I was like, you really did? He said, yeah, I did. And I said, is it worth it? He said, no, it is not worth it at all.
I mean, I also heard that has one of the most difficult boss battles. If you want to go like the 100% route, there are like 2 extremely difficult boss battles that you had to go through. They're some of the most difficult in all of gaming, I've heard.
That's what I had.
The difficulty spike is
absurd, I'm sure it is, but I just don't care. I tried to do the 100%. I had to use a guide at several points just to figure out where I was supposed to go in a linear game.
Yeah, kind of like the Sig Run boss battle at the end of 2018 God of War.
Yeah, I never did that one. I couldn't be bothered.
I'm kind of interested to do so, but when I eventually pick up the game again, it's been a few years.
But yeah, that's those are my final thoughts though. Now, if I were to give it a score, it's funny. It's funny. My friend used to make this joke where he always gave a score based on 17 hats, like 8 out of 17 hats. And the reason he did that is because he says, he's told me overall score really doesn't say anything about the game. It's one thing to listen to a review. It's another to play it, because maybe the person watching could grasp something that I cannot, or maybe they can figure something else out that I cannot. You get what I mean? So, do I recommend the game? Yes, but if you're only going in for the story, if you're only going in for the story, you'll probably enjoy it. If you're going in for the long haul, good fucking luck.
Yeah, so it's essentially like since it is like an 8-hour long story, it's not like you're shortcutting like your money just by going based off like trying to buy it just to experience the story,
right,
or anything along those lines. Like you're like the $60 to $80, like depending if you're in Canada, like I am.
Wow, I feel bad for you.
Well, that's what happens when you have an inflated currency. Anyhow, but if you're just like buying a game based off of that, then like I'd say your money's gonna be worth it.
Yeah,
like, there's enough content already there in the story that it'll warrant like a $60 to $80 purchase.
I can agree with that. All right. I think those are our final thoughts. I want to thank you all for joining me for the first episode of Tarik's Tavern. I hope you all had a very
Thank you
nice
for having me
time
on.
here.
Yeah, this was surprisingly a
We
lot more
did.
chill than I thought it was going to be, especially since I was anticipating the Wisp occurrence.
I honestly think that would have been hilarious.
It would have been,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I have the brain power for that right now to have
This will
fought that battle.
Oh, yeah,
Maybe we'll do a sequel with a big character.
We need a big character. Yeah.
A challenge appears.
We need a Wisp redemption arc.
Well, there's no redemption here. This is a bar. This is
This
where
is the-
degeneracy occurs.
Yeah,
this is the
where
midpoint
you
of
try
the
to.
character arc.
No, it's the secret boss.
Well, this is where you try
He's
to
reaching
forget about all
100%
your
and
worries
facing the
instead of
boss.
actually confronting them.
All right, guys. I just want to say again, thank you very much, and I will talk to you all later. Have a nice night.
Have a great night. Bye.
Night, guys.